Gundam.tk presents Master Grade Age-1 Sparrow. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2 R's 2 B's from GundamReviews.net, and as those skinny legs go toppling over, I can't help but wonder if this is going to be a problem for the Master Grade 1/100th Sparrow when it's all put together, similar to some of the issues that the high grade has had. But anyway, nothing like trying it out to find out, so let's put this all together. And all put together, ready to spall and awe. Yes, it's the Master Grade Age-1 Sparrow, which I've gotta say, just upon first inspection, if I was just to see this without having seen the anime or anything like this, I would probably say that this is not all that cool. I'd say that the proportions are pretty good. It's not enough to sort of make you really like something that you don't normally like the design of, let's say something like the Master Grade Force Impulse. But it is going to look pretty cool, and you can tell that it's going to look a lot better when it's not just posed sort of like a Nerf herder here. Anyway, the unique fingers are going to be cool, the colors are good, the white parts down below for the feet and the ankles and down there are the kind of thing that the advanced grade was certainly missing, but anyway, there's got to be a lot more to it than this, I'm hoping. In terms of articulation, you're going to have no problems at all bringing the legs forward there, unless you want to count those blue parts falling off. You can see that they've already fallen off, in about 5 times in the course of this 5-minute video so far. Anyway, off to the side, you're able to lift the side skirts up, and you can bend that all the way up, which is not going to do much in its favor, but you can bring those knees forward, no problem. You can again hear some clicking. This thing is obviously going to be a recurring theme. And down here with the ankles, you can move these all over the place, including off to the side pretty well. Be careful, though, that if you extend this too far, it's liable to fall off. No issues, though, with the upper body, or so it seems, in terms of articulation. You can rotate that, move that all over the place. As you've already seen, and again, those shoulders are incredible. You can pop them right out, and you can take that gray part and plug it back in. Of more interest, though, you'll notice here that this gray part hardly wants to move up, and if you try to do too much with it, you're just going to dislocate this shoulder altogether here. And what you can do, though, is you can take this white part, bend it up about that far if you get it past that little part there where it's got that sort of 2-click mechanism. Yes, I've already knocked off the fender there on the back. You can bring up the gray arm, although it feels pretty stiff, and you're going to get that 135 there, so you can have him ready to do all sorts of ridiculous poses. He's just waiting for his photos, it seems, here. Alright, now I gotta say, I was just stopping there to shoot some thumbnail pictures, and yeah, this guy with these ridiculous fingers on, and yeah, the ankles seem to be just a little bit weak, but no matter what you do with them, yeah, he's going to look very unique and very interesting, so if you want to use these kind of 2-finger poses, believe it or not, it's actually a lot of fun. In terms of size and height comparison here, you've got him next to Sun Asum in the Age-2 Normal. Remember, this is a 1/100th, it's a gauging builder toy as opposed to a model kit. So you can imagine that the Master Grade is going to be a little bit different, but whereas the Age-2 should be taller than the Age-1, you can see that you're going to have about the same head height here as the Sparrow. The 00 Gundam is a pretty tall Gundam there, but you can see that if you exclude the V-fins, or even with his V-fins on, it's only up to about the head height there of the Sparrow, although that is ignoring that giant sword that he's got on his shoulder. But you just get an idea of the sheer power of the 00, or so it seems, especially when you add on all of these weapons, compared to the slender and sleekness here of the Sparrow. Not to mention just sort of the details in the body, whereas this guy screams Master Grade, that Sparrow just comes across as being a little bit simple and almost 1/100th non-grade in comparison. Next up is his brother, the Age-1 Titus here, where basically these are the same guy, except they've just got, yes, one speed and one is power, one is red, one is blue. But you get the idea. Anyway, I have to say that my Titus has been getting significantly worse as time goes on. His ankles, his knees, his waist, everything about it, he is very easy to collapse, even if you try to get him in a regular standing pose. And in terms of height, you can see that the Titus should be shorter, and that is reflected here in the Master Grade. And finally, here's the Sparrow next to the Age-1 Normal, the one that started it all, pre-Razor, pre-Phoenix, and pre-everything else. Well, unless you want to go back to the RX-78 too, but I digress. You can see here that in terms of overall styling, that the Sparrow is going to have just a few millimeters of height, it looks like, over the Normal. Probably should have more if they kept things in perfect proportions, but overall, to go back to the MG sort of talk, this guy just has a lot more lining opportunities all over the place, including those little cutout marks, which is going to show off a little bit of the inner frame, whereas the Sparrow is just pretty much solid except for that little bit of black lining I put on, so he is going to look a little bit more simple. And overall, I've got to say that it's a pretty cool combination, and to have 3x3 here, conceivably, depending on what's going to happen with the Age 2, this is going to be quite an addition to the lead Gundam collection, I'd say. Now, usually I might have an extra shot showing weaponization of this Gundam, but yeah, with this guy, pretty much only butter. And Zetus, I suppose, is going to be quaking in its boots. You can see that the ankles are going to have some problems with flat feet, but he is staying up so far, despite the fact that this pose is not all that dynamic, but he is going to look very cool, just in the sense that he's got that sleek speed attacking style. Now, you may have seen earlier on that the Age-1 has no problem getting down into a kneeling position, and the Sparrow, despite the extra length it seems that he has in his legs, is also not going to have any problems. You can see that this is the kind of pose where it's probably going to look better at one angle, however, as opposed to the old rotating around kind of idea. Some of these kneeling poses, I suppose that you could actually do more than you'd expect with this guy. It seems more fun to do it with the Sparrow just because of the angular design. Just sort of seems like he could be that kind of ninja who just waits and meditates peacefully until he's called upon to attack a loaf of bread. Now, I may just have parts falling out because I'm trying to put him through his paces, and this kind of stance is just a little bit too wide here for the action base. It's very easy for him to go toppling over, but overall he just seems to have a lot more ground poses than even the ground Gundam, which is probably going to be your best bet with this guy until you put him up aerial. Of course, a small gust of wind. And like I said, even though he looks a little bit bland in a standing position, there's just something about this guy and sort of the general silliness that you want to try poses that you would probably not try with any other Gundam, and it's a surprise every once in a while which ones are going to work. But yes, I am sort of pushing it, but you'd think with ground poses and ankles with this kind of mobility that he'd be able to stay up in more poses than he is, but if you put those legs too far apart, which you'd think that he would be designed to do, anything else like that, no matter how well you try to get that center of balance corrected, it just seems like he's gonna want to go toppling over more often than not. But then again, sometimes his poses, no matter what you do with them, just come across as being a lot of fun. But if you subscribe to my Sparrow pronunciation here, well, this bird was meant to fly. And if you subscribe to the Spallow, I suppose he's meant to go shear stuff off. Anyway, once you get him up aerial, you're going to have no problem getting that action base on thanks to the custom connector. And even though this pose is not all that exciting, you can see that there's going to be a lot of cool possibilities, and that's only going to be helped by the fact that you've got those finger choices there. Yes, again, depending on which angle you're choosing to look at this guy at, on your shelf if you've got him posed, it just seems like there's no limit to the kind of possibilities here. The ankles moving here is going to be certainly a help in terms of getting them in cool positions. And something that I haven't talked about too much though is just how cool it is that those shoulders can pop out on so many levels. They can come out of the body, you can actually move the blue parts on the shoulders, you can move the gray parts and pop up the white parts to bring everything out. And it really does take what is overall a very skinny body when you look at it in just a regular standing position. And it just adds a whole bunch of dynamicism to it, if I've even got that word right, when you actually try to get them to look interesting. Now the thrusters on the wrists, even though they're not going to be all that noticeable unless you flip them forward, are again just going to come across as being fun. And remember, when you've got the needles in your face option always available, then you can imagine that the last place you'd want to be is a mobile suit pilot with this guy's knees coming into your body and just firing round after round of needles. And then don't forget that up top, he's going to have that blade which is ready to come down and just cause all sorts of problems for your camera lenses. And even though it sort of looks like he's dislocating his hand there, again, this guy just has all sorts of possibilities that you just probably wouldn't try with any other Gundam, and this guy can actually pull off some of them much better than you'd expect. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up my look at the mobile suit mode of the Master Grade Age-1 Sparrow. Anyway, I've had lots of good impressions and a few bad ones as well. So anyway, stay tuned for the final verdict where I'll have a complete list of those so that you can make the call as to whether this is something you want to add to your Master Grade or Age collection. Anyway, everybody, why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below. Would love to hear from you about the MS posability, the problems, and everything else. And we'll see you next part. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. Yes, that's a scene I never really get tired of. Sort of makes me want to do it with the strikes. And yes, poor old Blast Impulse. Seriously, there's just something about this guy that just makes you want to put him in the dumbest poses that you would never even dream of, oh, let's say, strike freedom, trying in a million years.